Hey, it's Bill Gross, the LA Probate expert, and at our LA Brew event, which I do every month, when is that? It's the first Thursday of every month, 5:30 p.m. at the All Seasons Brewery. Had a chance to meet a great guy, Alexander, who he's described how he sees himself. I see him as helping business people implement good fundamental technologies into their business to be more productive, to make more money in less time. And so I asked if we could get together on the video and share some time together. Alexander, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm really glad that we met. I feel like we had such a great conversation at the brew event that it was like, even when we met, we thought, oh, you know what, we need to have this conversation that we can have in front of more people, because it feels like more people need to hear this stuff. And you mentioned the fundamentals, and I think that's really where my business comes into play. Is a lot of times entrepreneurs and CEOs are working, they come up with an idea that is the seed for their company, and it launches into the company, but they forget to set these foundational, these just basic elements of what a company should be. So sometimes it's like, how do you run a meeting? How do you, we were just talking before we started recording about like calendar invites. And sometimes people just don't know, you don't know what you don't know. And I think that's whenever you need to call in a subject matter expert and just have someone come in and show you the ropes real quick, get you caught up to speed. And so that's where my business, Pain in the Assistant, comes in. So the name, it's a little cheeky, but it's something that I really wanted to, I think that it serves the purpose really well. We handle the things that you would normally want an assistant for, and the things that are typically a pain in your ass. So that's
that's a little cheeky because you're a little cheeky.
Yeah, we like to be a little cheeky.
Well, but I feel like the things we talked the other day as well. I feel like these are things when I coach real estate agents on my team or other people. I feel like I share with them a concept, and it's like I invented fire on something that you or I would consider fundamental. Like one of the things you and I spoke about was organizing your mail to get to inbox zero.
Yep.
And that's a concept that so many people, their inbox, their mail is like thousands of emails, tens of thousands of emails. And it sticks in their head and it holds them back. And they know in there somewhere is important information. They never really get to the actual tasks at hand. I know that 90% of this is motivation or mindset rather than technical. So I know before people will engage with you or take into practice what you tell them, that they have to get their mindset right. What do you do to help people get their mind right? That these are fundamental tools that will help them be more productive. And if you spend a little bit of time learning on it, you'll leverage all the other things you're doing.
I love that framing. So one of the big things about email that really stresses people out is your notifications. And when you have the little, they call it a badge icon, the little number that pops up. If you see that number, I was working with someone recently who has 106 or had 160,000 emails in her inbox. You don't want to look at that. You don't want to see that number. You don't want to be involved with it, but you feel like you're being irresponsible if you don't have the number show up.
Right.
So honestly, the first thing that I would recommend is say, well, first know that your inbox is not totally your fault. We sign up for marketing emails, or when you go to purchase something, you automatically get put onto one mailing list. And there are companies that don't just have one, but they maybe have 10 mailing lists. So now you're on 10 different lists because you bought some chapstick at TJ Maxx or whatever it is, and it's like, it gets overwhelming very, very easily.
I just bought some chapstick from you. Come on.
Yeah. It's like and then all of a sudden you're on their mailing list for life. And I think there are an average, it's like 130 billion emails are sent every day or something like that, some absurd number. So your inbox being clogged is not your fault. That is, I think, the biggest takeaway. The second is that you need to find ways to stop the bleeding. So I was working with someone, again, who she was receiving 400 emails a day, and she was just overwhelmed. And there are businesses where you have 400 emails that you need to be responding to or that require an action from you. But a lot of times, I'd say at least 75% of that, and in this case, it was about 75, 80% of that was just noise. And it was subscriptions that she had gotten access to a while back. And just by clearing that out, find some unsubscription software. Leave Me Alone is a great one that I recommend. It's leavemealone.app. So look, we love cheeky names. So that's another one, but it really works. It's a great software. It's affordable. You only need to buy it once and you can knock out everything you need to do. But That's a great way to really bulk unsubscribe from those emails. And then regarding the notifications, on your phone, turn off those notifications.
Oh,
You don't need to be seeing them.
100%.
Like, and also you want to have control of your day and of your inbox. If you, every single time you get an email, you're looking at your phone, that is the exact opposite of having control. So set times in your day. Some people maybe only need to check their email once. It depends on your role. It depends on your business. You don't have to be a CEO or, you know, the leader of your company to take control of your day. So if you're a sales team member, maybe you need to check your email 3 or 4 times a day, but set times and stick to it. Like, commit to yourself, commit to your inbox, but turn off those notifications, and you'll inevitably have a much, much healthier life work balance.
100%. You know, I'm glad you're saying this, because I tell people all the time, turn off all the notifications, the bells, the whistles, the Zooms, and I have friends or family, my wife's an example, who, like, every program has notifications. She by default leaves them on. And her phone is just like, when she leaves it around me, it's like a nonstop popcorn machine. And it's like, why would you want so many people to get your attention in life? Like, it's already hard enough to pay attention to what you're supposed to. Why do you want these distractions? Just that alone would change.
So whenever I use, a big distinction I make is I like using Apple for their hardware, but not necessarily for their software. So like, I have a MacBook, I have an iPhone, but I don't use the Mail app. I don't use the Calendar app. I'm a Google Workspace type of guy when it comes to those things. But when it comes to like the Apple hardware, they just released within this past year, I think, the Do Not Disturb feature. And I like the idea of Do Not Disturb. I at first was really skeptical that it tells people that you're on Do Not Disturb. There's a little notification that'll pop up on other iPhones, and it says, you know, this person is currently under, you know, their notifications are silenced. And then it gives them the option, do you want to notify them anyway? So at first I thought, I don't want people to know that I'm on Do Not Disturb. That feels really pretentious. But after using the feature, it really has altered. I have like my work mode. I have my just general Do Not Disturb. I've got a Do Not Disturb for home. And by setting up those different modes, it really does, it matters. It contributes a lot. So if you are someone who wants your notifications all on, maybe set up different workspaces for you. So it's like, oh, whenever I'm at home, my work notifications don't go off, or vice versa.
Right. Yeah, I live in Do Not Disturb, by the way. Just my phone's always off. I have to turn it on if I'm expecting call of something that's important, because I think it's so important to be where I'm at. You know, I'm with you. In fact, I forgot to my Do Not Disturb on the computer. But I think it's important that when you're with somebody, to be with them, and then when you're with the next person, to be with them, but not to be with you with my mind somewhere else. And that's the challenge we have. We're not as effective in those cases. You know, I think that it's easy to, I won't say denigrate, maybe downgrade the importance of what you do as being technical or detail. The reality is you're teaching somebody kind of how to fly when they're happy walking, and being better at what they do, right? Not being distracted makes you better at what you're supposed to do, instead of being distracted by what some stupid app wants you to do. So you really end up, I think, helping people be more of what they want to be, and less of something else.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it all ties back to this idea of having this life work balance that is healthy, that allows you to be your best self. And also, whenever you are able to separate and distinguish between your what you're doing for work and then having that life, there's so many people that I'll talk to, and I'll say, so what do you do? And it's beyond that question. Really when I ask it, I expect it to extend beyond work. It's like, oh, here are my hobbies. Here, I'm dating, right? Like I'm a guy who's out there dating. And when you ask people and their lives are so centered around work that there's nothing more, that's kind of a red flag, you know? And I say the same thing I tell my clients, like straight up, I'll say like, hey, you know, like maybe we should focus on like I'll simply ask, like, what's something you can do today that is for you and not for the business? And taking more of this holistic approach, I think, is really where people feel served the most. Saying that I do inbox and calendar support, the average person may think, okay, so they're an assistant, they help schedule meetings. I honestly don't really help schedule meetings that much. I help set up systems that allow your meetings to get scheduled, allow your calendar not to get double booked, and allow everything to get a little bit more automated, so you're not doing so much. The average person spends 30 minutes scheduling a meeting and then over an hour preparing for that same meeting. So that's an hour and a half that has been devoted to a meeting that hasn't even happened yet. When you use a scheduling link, which you, and I'm sorry to just go on, but you sent me a scheduling link through Calendly. That was the easiest thing. I was scheduled within a day, and we didn't have to have this back and forth. It maybe took 2 minutes.
I do it all the time. I live in Calendly. It's the most amazing technology. I know there's an equivalent way to do it now in Google Calendar, and I just haven't bothered to do it because my Calendly is so set up and ingrained in my business. And I get attorneys, people who are very high priced, very high target fee marketing wise, who will book themselves my calendar. It's like, wow, that's fantastic. And it takes all the friction out of that conversation back and forth and time zones and where am I going to be. Now, it really works for me because I live in my calendar. My calendar is all blocked out, and I do have all my activities in my calendar. So I almost never, it happens once a year or so, has to be booked and I have to move it because, I have this other thing at that time. I have my calendar exercise time. I have the calendar. My grandson comes over every Thursday afternoon and I want to spend an hour with him. It's in my calendar. And so that way I don't get booked. It used to be interrupted at that time. And now it's blocked in my calendar that I want to be with him at 5 o'clock on Thursday. And I'm going to be with him in the morning until 9 o'clock on Friday morning because he sleeps over with us. But whatever's important to you, if it's in your calendar, then you can protect it and work around it. And you can always give it up when you want to, but you can't give it up if you don't protect it, I think. So
there's a quick aside is that for a large part of the beginning of my adult life, I was very scared of the idea of a budget. I thought that it meant that you were immediately constrained in what you were doing. And this is something that I'm still I'm constantly tinkering with using a budget. But I really thought it meant, okay, if I say that I'm only going to spend this amount, I can't go over that number or else I lose the game. And it was this mindset shift for me to think, oh no, okay, I'm estimating that I'm going to spend about this much. And then I'm just going to track each month and say, okay, was I close? Was I not? Let me just get a better handle on, it's more observational and being able to identify how much am I spending? It's the same thing with your calendar. Right. When you set up a routine, it doesn't mean, oh, I have to this is the only way that can go. And it has to fit in this bubble or else I fail. It's just saying, oh, I'm thinking that I'm spending about, maybe I spend about 8 hours doing marketing for my business, or I feel like I probably spend, I just signed up for a digital course. I'm a big believer in using digital courses. I sell a digital course actually on how to get from overwhelmed to inbox zero. I firmly believe that it's a great way to learn now, that you can learn on your own time and make change for the better in your business. So I just started a digital course. My time spent on professional development right now is higher than it would be outside of that course. But I'm devoting time in my calendar every day to making it through the different modules. And it's something on, I really wanted to learn more about copywriting. So it's a course on copywriting and how to use copy to launch a new product, or how to use it for your website and increase conversions and sales. So that was something that was really of interest to me. I think that if in real estate, you really have to ask, how are you spending your time? And that's how you can set your calendar budget. And then that's how you build your calendar around that.
Well, the professional development you're talking about, I think to us as business people is the equivalent of lifting weights or running for, say, a professional basketball player, football player, right? If you're a professional basketball player, you don't really run sprints, but if you run sprints, you become a faster runner, you become a better basketball player because the skill is part of the package. Same with lifting weights. If you're stronger, you're better. And so for me, I feel like I'm more efficient if I learn a tool to make mailboxes. And I spent really about half hour recently kind of reorganizing the filters and rules and such to speed up my email because I live on inbox zero. I can't imagine living elsewhere. I see people with tens of thousands of emails. It just makes me uncomfortable because I know the stress that they're under. I don't live in that stress.
And so on that note, where it makes you uncomfortable, I think that's really how I know that I love what I'm doing, because it makes me very excited. I'm like, oh, this is an opportunity to really make an impact, because it's debilitating, and that can really, there are businesses that are out there that are, I don't want to say just struggling, but that are teetering on the edge of not existing anymore because the communication channels are clogged and there's a major bottleneck there that's due to the CEO or just any team member really struggling with their inbox.
Well, and they might be doing well business wise, but they're under such stress because of it. I think the part that I see is I deal with people who make a lot of money and doing well financially, but they're under such stress, and this is such a relief. There's a famous book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, by Marie Kondo. It's about tidying up physical things, your house, your clothes and books and things like that. But the principles apply to this too. And the key part of the title of the book, The Life-Changing Magic. You know, I felt life-changing magic when I got to Inbox Zero and understood the concepts of it, understood the principles behind it, and just being. And so the second you mentioned it to me, Inbox Zero, it's like either you're in or off that program. If you're in it, it's life-changing. If you're not, you're suffering. There's no other way to explain what I see in people who don't have Inbox Zero. So look, I could go on this topic for hours. I don't know how productive it is. You know, obviously I've enjoyed our chat previously, and I enjoy our chat here today. But if somebody wanted to get involved either with a digital course or learn more about what you do, what would be the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Sure. So the business is Pain in the Assistant. You can find us at pitassistant.com, pitassistant.com. I'm on Instagram and TikTok at Pain in the Alexander. And you can also find me on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to reach out any way whatsoever. You can also reach out to the company directly at support@pitassistant.com. And
you have to think about someday marketing. Do you really want people to have a pain in and then your name associated together? Maybe you do. You know, maybe you're attracting a certain customer that enjoys pain. I don't know.
You know, look, I think there's room for everyone.
Well, yeah. The question is, do you want everybody? That's a different. Of course, there's room for everybody. You can get a lot of business. Just be careful what you could get because you might end up having to deal with it. So
it was for sure a conversation at the beginning of my business that I was talking with my mom about it, and she was like, "Are you sure that's what you want? You know, is that the type of person that you're looking to, or like, what if someone thinks that, you know, is that name not professional? Like, what if they don't want it?" And it made me realize, like, you know, if they're not quite comfortable with the name, then it maybe just isn't a good fit, you know. But I do agree. I think that there's a level of, is pain really the right? But you know, I think
maybe it is.
Yeah,
maybe just don't be surprised that your clients are in pain. I think, you know, you can't be mystified if they are. Right? You put it in your name, so that's you're going to attract. I do think that it sounds like it's working for you, and I really appreciate you taking time. I know you're busy, and you made some great presentations to other big companies. I'm just a little fish here in the real estate world, but I really appreciate you spending time with us, Alexander, and look forward to hopefully seeing you again at our brew event next Thursday.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for inviting me on, and I hope that the information is helpful to you, to other people, and I really look forward to doing something like this again soon. So thank you.
Thanks so much.